Hi everyone, welcome back, and we're at the range today, and the reason we're doing this segment now is, quite frankly, I need an excuse in my mind to get out of the wind, because it is cutting right through me. It is cold. Today we're doing a segment on a product that I don't normally do, which is rail covers. And I don't do rail covers, or I don't like rail covers, because in my mind, rail covers are a series of trade-offs. And up to this point, I've not found a product that I like that does all the things that I want it to do and the things that I don't want it to do. I can't find that balance. So I think we've got a pretty good contender here. Now these are from Walker Defense, and you guys have seen some stuff from Walker Defense here before. Predominantly they're brakes. So they've got a 3D printed Inconel brake, both in 30 cal and 5.56. It does a fantastic job of eliminating muzzle rise and stuff like that. Full videos on that sort of thing. But to preface the whole discussion on their rail cover, I want to say that if you find the rail on your rifle, the handguard on your rifle, slippery, then I'm sorry to inform you that you purchased wrong. For instance, this is a Midwest Industries combat rail, and this is a fantastic rail. You can see that it's got scallops out of there. It's M-LOK, so M-LOK is inherently abrasive because of the way it kind of grips the flesh of your hand and stuff like that. But I think that a rail cover can do a couple different things. And particularly, a rail cover should be very thin. And if you look at this thing, it adds very little to the profile. So it doesn't really give me a big girthy thing to grab onto. The slide on rail covers back in the day from when we were trying to cover the cheese grater, those things just made the thing so fat it was completely unusable. They have the same things now, but they're just a little bit thinner because they don't have to stack on top of a Picatinny rail, but they're still just make the thing fat. It should also be insulatory. One of the major things about an aluminum rail is, particularly up here where I've got this thing located, which is right next to the gas block, it gets really hot. And one of the things about an aluminum rail is that the rail will eventually get hot if you shoot it enough. A rail cover should act to insulate your hand. So in order to get that done, you can't use metal. One, metal's heavy, so you basically are boxed into aluminum, and putting another layer of aluminum over aluminum is just going to transfer heat between two layers of aluminum. Now what an aluminum rail cover will do for you is give you an extra layer of aluminum, so it gives you maybe a couple extra rounds. And basically what happens is this thing will be too hot to touch, and then you'll rely on the aluminum rail cover, and then a couple rounds later it'll get super hot and you'll burn your hand. Basically, you got warning temperature up here, and then all that heat will creep through that aluminum rail cover and burn the crap out of you. So you have to make it out of something that isn't metal. And that leaves you with either polymer or wood. Now, I don't know about you, but I don't like wood on my guns. This is a polymer-based rail cover that is very thin, but then on top of it, it has some silicon carbide. And silicon carbide has a lot of unique properties. One, is very abrasive, and two, it has a high specific heat. It takes a lot of energy pumped into that silicon carbide to make it hot enough to burn you. Basically, you can guess that if you shot this thing like 20 magazines of full auto, for instance, then probably the polymer underneath would melt before you got to the point where the silicon carbide would have a problem. The other thing about rails like this that has been a problem is typically, specifically when it comes to the aluminum ones. Anodized aluminum is a no-go when it comes to IR reflectance. If you look at these things under IR, they do a pretty good job at reducing the signature relative to a anodized piece of aluminum that you would also put on your gun. So these things were supposed to be here mid-summer. And as you can see, it is not summer anymore, and they've been here for a couple months. What happened is they were originally supposed to come here, and then the whole stock sold out in a couple days, and they're like, oh, we don't have them, so we'll come back to you here in a minute. And it worked out because, as you can see, I've gotten to test them in a very slushy, nasty, icy environment. and they've been performing very well. So to give you a rundown on how it works, it's an M-LOK rail cover. That's pretty self-explanatory, but it also has some fingers down inside that clamp into the rail. And the idea is that normally with M-LOK rails, you have some little tiny aluminum struts that basically you are pretty much locked into where you're going to put that thing on your rail if you're using those aluminum struts. Unless you want to grind them down, you basically are locked into a couple different positions that the manufacturer thinks that you can put it in. That is not so with the polymer fingers that stick down inside this rail. So if you want to mod that rail, you don't have to get out any power tools, you don't have to sand on it, you don't have to potentially destroy the rail. All you do is pop out a razor knife and cut them off. For data, this is really close to this gas block, but it doesn't touch. So we didn't have any problem with a normal thin, what I would classify as a thin profile handguard with these rail covers on there close to the gas block. But there were some other rifles that I put these on with different operating systems, and the internal real estate inside the handguard has been taken up by operating components. And some of those did need to be modded. But again, really easy to mod if you're trying to put it on something other than an AR, AK, something like that. So to recap the positives before we go to my nitpicks: lightweight, low IR reflectance, low heat conductance, easily modified, very, very, very grippy. Nitpick 1, very, very, very grippy. And I know that was listed as a positive, but these things collect junk, okay? Walker sent me a cleaning sponge it's basically a eraser that you use to knock the crap out of it. Particularly if you get the thing hot, cold, hot, cold, hot, cold, hot, where you get the snow that cakes, that's gonna be with just about any small pore size skateboard type material like this silicone carbide here. So again, super nitpicky, but that's one of those trade-offs that you have to work with. It's super grippy, like rip your fingerprints off grippy. Can't let go of the gun grippy. But if you slide it in the mud, it's going to pick up a bunch of dirt. So you're going to need to PM the thing every once in a while. On to nitpick 2, and this is so super nitpicky. I can't believe I'm going to do this, but I'm trying to balance this thing so it's not all sunshine, rainbows, and butterflies and stuff, even though none of that stuff exists right now. So we could probably use a little bit more of that. Remember those springy bits that I told you about that stick down? Depending on the spec of your rail, they can make it a little bit more challenging to install the thing. And this may just be a user error technical problem, but I want you to think, you got some spring-loaded bits that are hanging down that are fixed, and then you got some spinny bits on the end that are the M-LOK attachments, and you're trying to line those up, keeping them from spinning, and then push those spring-loaded things in there, and sometimes it could be a problem. It's not a problem on the short pieces, but on the longer pieces, I had some issues on some tighter rails. And again, super nitpicky. That's all I got on what's wrong with the rail cover. It checks all the other boxes, in my opinion. So if you're looking for a rail cover, or a series of rail covers to augment a slick-sided rail or something like that, particularly if you made a consumer error, then you should probably check out Walker Defense on what they're doing on their rail covers. And also tell them that VSO sent you. I think that we have a discount code for Walker Defense. If you guys are interested, it'll be over on the affiliates page. Special thanks to them for making today's video possible, as well as our patrons on Patreon and Subscribestar. And it is beginning to rain, so we're going to flash their names up on screen before that freezing rain gets here. So you guys have a good time, and thank you guys for watching the VSO Gun Channel. We'll see you guys on a future video, hopefully. And I just thought of all the stuff that I'm not going to get done today because it's raining now. Crap.